Hey everybody, Chris again. The first thing a designer does when they get into the space is have quiet time. Shh! I mean quiet time. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how you can set up, tune, and delay your system for a better quiet time, all within Canvas. Sound! So this is the system page. On each new canvas, you have a system element, and that system element is able to route its audio out of your output card through the system page. And the way that we do that is by setting which system is active here under the systems table. So we can add multiple systems and set whichever one we want active. For each system, we can set up our outputs and inputs in whatever configuration we want, as well as which output card we want. Now, for most shows, we typically don't want to use the built-in output. So in order to change the sound card, we come over here to the audio hardware drop-down box and select which sound card we want to use. And in this example, I know I'm going to use my Motu Ultralight AVB, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now, after I've selected the sound card, it's going to tell us how many outputs we have currently available to us on that sound card. So in this, for this piece of hardware, I currently have 18 outputs. And you can see that we're actually only using 2 of them currently. So if we want to use more than 2 outputs, we need to go ahead and specify that. And the way that we do that is by typing it into this text box. So for this demo, I want to use 7. And you can see that after typing in 7, I now have 7 outputs appearing here. So with each system element, it connects up to the system page via the number of inputs that you have, and each input can be routed to each output separately. So in order for us to be able to set up a one-to-one system, I'm going to want to have 7 inputs into my system page and 7 outputs out of my system page. So in order to do that, I need to go ahead and type in 7 into this text box. And you can see it's given us 7 inputs down here. Now this is all that you need to do in order to be able to get up and running with Canvas. You don't have to use any of the other features I'm going to show you. All right, now that we have our system set up, I want to take a moment and talk about all the properties that you can set on each output. So there are a lot of different properties we can set on each output, and we can click through each output here, or we can select each one by using these buttons down here. So for each output, we can come over here and set which channel of the output card we wanted to use. So since we have 18 outputs, we can select channel 18 here if we wanted channel 1 or output 1 to be channel 18 instead of channel 1. We can set its name. So if I wanted this to be main left, we can set its volume. So if I wanted this to be -10, I can do that. We also have the ability to do delay. So if I wanted to add delay to this output, I can go ahead and do that here in this text box. We can also solo and mute each output, which is really handy when you're in quiet time. So we also have the ability to do EQ for each output. So we give you 8 bands of EQ with the ability to do a high pass, a low shelf, a parametric, a notch, a high shelf, or a low pass filter. We can reset the EQ here with this button. We also have a mix of inputs per output. So you can have multiple inputs going to one output. So if I wanted input 1 and input 3 to mix to my main left, I can do that here. As well as these are able to solo and mute as well. So now I want to talk about this grid here. You can think of it as a ground plan for your sound system. So we can go ahead and set up our loudspeakers in a 2D representation of where they are in space. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my sound system. Okay, so now that my sound system's set up, I want to talk to you a little bit more about what this grid can do. So first off, it gives you a visual representation of your outputs in space. You can command click on each output to set its volume, or you can control click to set its delay. But the great thing about setting it up within this 2D space is this little point right here. And as you can see, all the outputs are currently attached to that little point, and they're measuring their distance via that point. So now that we know the distance between this point and all the outputs, we can come over here and set this auto delay button on, and that will add delay to all of our outputs based upon the distance to this point, because we can now calculate that delay for you. With the auto delay on, as we move this point around, we can hear the delay changing for us. If we wanted an output to not respond to that auto delay, such as this practical radio we have on stage, I can go ahead and check this practical box here, and that's going to dump it over here onto this practical column. Now, when we have the system set up and we want to tune it by hand a little bit more, we can go ahead and turn off this auto delay, and you'll see that all the outputs will keep their current delay settings. We can also add multiple points. So if I came down here to this plus button, I can add a second point onto the grid and have my outputs use that second point as their measurement. So we can actually have multiple delay points in use at any one point in time. So that's some of the basics of the system page in Canvas. I hope it enables you to have a better quiet time. Some of these topics can be kind of advanced, such as EQing and delaying a system. So if you've never seen it before, I'm going to include a few links below to help you get started. As always, you can find us on Facebook or at Aave.io, and I'll see you next time.